because we were in the pool hall one night and you mentioned G.G. Allin. And I'm not really a fan either, but my thought was, how did John find out about G.G. Allin? And that was the question I wanted to ask you. But this is just a tiny poem called Conjuring G.G. Allin from Beyond the Grave. If G.G. Allin Googled himself, he wouldn't like what he found either. Overdose doesn't rhyme with anything. Suicide is a beautiful rose planted in broken glass that the young always remember. I'm kind of entranced sometimes by like old shopping malls that only have mall walkers in them that like by all rights should be shut down. There's something magical about it. It takes me back to my childhood, and there's one in Evansville, Indiana called Washington Square Mall. And they have all these things on the wall of this soap opera star that visited the mall in like the mid 80s, and it seems to have been the highlight of everything that had ever gone on there. And there are photos of girls with big hair, and it's wonderful. And I wrote this poem. It's called The Ghost of Washington Square Mall. Every morning, the janitor wipes dust off the lips of a dead soap opera star. A young girl places flowers in fresh dirt in memory of 1987. Her God is a time machine. Big hair, big hearts. Mall walkers who waited tables here before dropping out of college hide behind the fences of suburban wastelands. The wall outside the bar is the only thing that's left. A carousel that doesn't move to the music of the past. And I had a woman from Evansville try to argue with me that there had never been a carousel in the mall, but she was being anal retentive because there is a carousel ride. They have a lot of children's rides in there, and it's a super, super cool place. All right. This is, yeah, I'll read this. Actually, this is a poem that's based on a photograph I saw in a diner in Missouri. I'm not going to say where. It says, it's called Easy on the Eyes. There is nothing nice to look at here, except fried eggs, black coffee, and a picture of a teenage beauty queen standing next to a prized hog. Both of them headed to the processing plant, one to pump out babies like factory widgets, and one to become breakfast meat. Both of them smiling, wearing blue ribbons around their necks, putting on a brave face for the camera, etched in grease splatter for all eternity, their expressions hanging there like a noose. More prepared. I'm sure Wesley's more prepared than me. Where am I? I just got asked to send work for an anthology of Missouri poets, and I put up a post today on Facebook that said, I guess that means I live here now. Like it's an official
It's
thing.
official, John, you live here.
Yeah, I can't escape. Like if I wanted to, I can't do it now.
We got you.
I got that health insurance and that anthology Missouri poets. All right. I will, let's see. It should be. I'll read this. I know where this is. When I started reading poems, I was very, very young, which is probably for the best, because if I had been older, I probably still wouldn't be doing it now. I would have been a lot smarter. But So the place that gave me my very first featured reading was just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And there was a guy there who was a college professor, still is, who just would always, he had one poem that he would come up and read like every week, and it was about the Beatles. And so I wrote this poem about him, and it's called Poem for Frank Klapek in 1994. I wanted the girls to look at me the way they looked at you. It was such a waste. You never even noticed your poems about the Beatles were better than the Beatles themselves. You had everything. A song without music, a hot cup of coffee, red wine from a dented flask, given to you by an ex-girlfriend in 1968, a torn t-shirt from the British invasion, bought in a used record store in Pittsburgh, and girls lining up to brush the snow off the edges of your coat. Let's see here. There's a poet who was from Los Angeles who committed suicide about 17, 18 years ago, named Ed Smith. And I didn't start reading him until about a year ago, but I just became obsessed with him. And his poems are tiny. Most of them are like maybe 5 lines long. But he had a selected poems come out a little while ago, and it's called Punk Rock is Cool for the End of the World. And so I just stole that title because I wanted to write a poem for him. And so the poem is just called Punk Rock is Cool for the End of the World. You can't hear screaming over the sound of the radio on a wooded highway where a cat curls up with the noise of youth, forgetting there was ever a time and place for anger, just before diving in to a mosh pit of rivers and more rivers. You know, the whole thing with rivers is kind of my tribute to Belle, because I write so many poems that mention rivers now. Ironically, I've never gone to down in the river where I live because I'm deathly afraid of snakes, which we've already covered. So, let's see here. Read this poem I wrote for my brother. My brother is one of the strangest, smartest human beings I've ever met, but his area of interest is far different than mine. He's like a Renaissance literature scholar. And at any time, you could find him down in my parents' basement smoking pot and reading a book about the War of the Roses, or like something that a guy like him who works as a butcher, you wouldn't expect to find him doing. And this is called a Poem for My Brother in the Basement. The War of the Roses still rages here, in a land of high-end weed and used guitars. The blues are real. The ghost of Robert Johnson floating through the suburbs from the tip of your hand-rolled cigarettes, putting up posters for lost dogs and youthful songs of angst, knowing that if anyone could really see you, they might run you right out of town. Oh yeah, I've been reading this. I read this in Ohio, where I was recently, and I've been writing these trailer park poems because I spent a lot of my youth living in a trailer park, and I'm putting together this book called the Double Wide Book of the Dead. And so this is just, I'll compile those at some point, but this is just one of them. It's called Trailer Park Song 1984. John Cougar Mellencamp sings a song about peace in the elementary school cafeteria as his niece beams with pride. My father fixes a local newscaster's car in the snow for $5 an hour to feed a family of 4. His knuckle busted open, face covered in blood and grease, like war paint in a losing battle. In our house, it's difficult to have any fight left in you when the spaghetti is low, but peace is not the same thing as peace of mind. Let's see here. people here have heard me read this, but I'm going to read it anyway. It's probably my favorite poem out of this book. And this only came out at the beginning of this year. This has been the best year creatively I've ever had. In the last 11 months, I've kept 650 poems. So, but in Belle, they have the Belle Fair every year. And there's a girl that was at the Belle Fair like a year or two ago who, like, for some unknown reason, like, was standing on the edge of her lawn wearing a Tupac Shakur t-shirt. And I just want to know where she got the shirt. Like, it was just pretty crazy. And this is East Coast, West Coast, and Southern Missouri. And I'm hoping that Missouri Poets Anthology will print this. A high school girl with thick black glasses, barely concealed by a second-hand Tupac t-shirt, stands on the front of her lawn as a volunteer fireman who didn't make it past the 9th grade throws candy in her direction. With a pitching arm that will never take him any further than the next county over. A love story held together with tape, like the glasses peeling in the summer sun. Candy corn at her feet, like stray bullets in a gang war, in a music video that will last the rest of her life. A baby under each arm, pacing east and west, a drive-by that goes in circles leading nowhere, always in rivalry with possibility. Maybe the old owner of the shirt fed the hungry, danced in an empty swimming pool, and swore there was music that nobody else could hear. Or maybe she actually saw who killed Tupac and Biggie both, and never said a word. Because there was peace in just letting things go, like the boy who placed the shirt over her shoulders as she shivered, taking what she hadn't offered to begin with. Because when you wash out the blood stains, all you're left with is your own heartbreak, standing on your front lawn, wearing someone else's dream, shrunken down so many times with wrinkles that you can never quite smooth out, until you're almost with a snow cone melting down your arm in the sun, bleeding red, white, and blue, as a single sock fresh out of the dryer sticks to your belly, and that's the best part of your day. Read a few more, and then get out of the way here. I really like this little poem. I read this down in Jefferson City, and I don't think the poem is relatively old, but I don't think I'd read it until a few months ago. But back in the late 90s, when I was in college, there was a movie out called The House of Yes. And I went to see it, and I carried a bunch of fried chicken in my pockets. And so it was from this place called Chicken Noodle, which I hand to God was the best chicken I've ever had. And people, instead of telling me to get out, they were like, "Oh, where did you get that chicken?" So, but I wrote this tiny little poem about it. It's called A Fried Chicken Sandwich in the House of Yes. Everyone in the theater looks at you with envy, with your oversized pockets, holding a fried chicken sandwich close to your heart, like the warm hands of a lover with a flower pinned in her hair. You didn't think that a fried chicken sandwich could be a spiritual experience like that. But, all right. Let's see. I'll read this. There's a poet named Frank Stanford who took his own life at the age of 29, who was from Arkansas, and he went to high school that was run by Franciscan monks. And my friend Victor and I took a road trip down there, and they let us in the Abbey, and we got to tour the cemetery where he's buried with the monks who still run all the maintenance there. And so I wrote this poem, and it's a town called Sabaco, Arkansas. And this is called What Passes for Zen in Sabaco, Arkansas. A frail dog floats out of a wooden box as if by magic, shaking as sunlight touches its skin. In 1898, there was a natural spring just over the hill. Now they make craft beer for tourists and relatives, carrying plastic fire trucks on the wet grass. An ex-monk has come here to forget the past and tell you about it at least a dozen times. Where high school boys throw baseballs over tombstones, imagining gentle girls with strawberry blonde hair, knock-kneed from meditation, leaving a weightless kiss in an empty field that is as close to heaven as they may ever get, where Frank Stanford rolls over in his grave like a dancing bear from another century. And I should at least try to finish up with something from this book. I'm really proud of it, but most of these poems, like, they're less than 10 lines long. Some of them are less than 5 lines long. And so if you read poems, you know, like, it's difficult to read a really short poem. And for people to, like, really be able to take all that in such a quick amount of time, you just hope that after they leave, like, something sort of clicks. But this is 124 poems. I wrote these in like 3 weeks this past February. I started doing erasure. None of this is erasure, but I started doing erasure poems taken from the work of Everett Maddox, who is a late New Orleans poet. You should look him up. He's fucking awesome. This is a tribute to love. It really is. And erasure is just like, the way that I do it is I was taking 2 words from any one line and going top to bottom and creating my own poem from that bit of text. But everyone has a different definition and different way of how they do it. But this is a piece called Railroad Tracks. A moon fragment, dark again, moon eaters. Silence is playing somewhere, summer is ending, pushing a wheelbarrow full of evidence of an unfinished poem. I actually just last night I got asked if I would be a guest speaker at the New Orleans Poetry Festival in April.
Oh, cool.
I think because of this book, but I don't know. All right. I find this poem funny. It's called this poem called "Sitting Vice Versa." Your vagina swung open for dear life. Okay. Not all of them are that good, I promise you. I promise you. This is called Spilled a Bottle of Tabasco. Spilled a bottle of Tabasco when you walked in, picking your teeth with a fiddle bow. The lepers danced and you loved it. It's difficult. Clowns brooding. Sidewalk bars, sagging magnolias, invisible lovers explode. Yeah, it's one of them days. I like this. It's a piece called "In the 90s," which I think he is referring to like the 1890s. But as a child of grunge, I like to pretend it's the 1990s. But he died in 1989, so. But in the 90s. A man would fall in love with tragedy. My hottest wish, the fire under your dress. Murderous rock and roll. Pinball fears, dear summer, what chance does a boy have? Your little hand so old. Should we like 2 or 3 more of these, and we'll call it a day. This is, I know actually some of these I haven't looked at in so long, so I couldn't even tell you the poem that they originally came from as source material, but this is one that I know. Everett Maddox has a poem called Heaven, which is one of the last pieces in his selected poems, and it's fucking brilliant. Like it's one of the best poems I've ever read. And I actually was able to get an erasure out of it that's actually like 6 lines long, which is hard to do. But it's called Little Boys and Girls. Little boys and girls crouched in the knot grass, where Joyce Kilmer blew Rupert Brooke, where my mother died of blood poisoning and bluebells under that long dress in her tombstone. Pick 2 more of these. This is just a tiny one called A Dog's Neck. A dog's neck wears thin, a trendy gray points elsewhere. I can't speak for a dog. I got one piece in here that makes fun of Waffle House, but you have to read that for yourself. But what you need to know is the dirt in Waffle House is the same everywhere. I think they move it around.
But the food's so good. Come on.
All right. I'll just end with this. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. I will say that I have some copies of. I would rather promote Westley's stuff, but I do have some copies of this book because it's new. I have some out there. Anyone wants one? Okay. This is called A Row of Lights. A row of lights, spring rain, watery enterprise, a laconic hoot owl, not pursued, disordered flight, terrible integrity. Thank you, guys. I've already sort of introduced this man, kind of. Like I said, he's the author of Busking Blues, which is here today on that table, as is 12 Chicago Cabbies. I know that you had your other book too, but I didn't want to slaughter the title, so yeah. I'll leave that to you. But I would just like to welcome all the way from Los Angeles and other parts of America, because he's been traveling around, Westley Heine. But I wanted to say one thing. He and I met in person because I went to Los Angeles with Ed and Eva Gillard, and they actually are living on the same street that Westley just left to come here. But that's it. Westley, welcome, man. Welcome.
Oh, this is going to be interesting reading because my body's still shaking from driving across to Oklahoma.
You just need some meth to balance you out.
Yeah. That's what I'm here for. My little book tour from Los Angeles to Chicago has wound up being kind of a reverse Route 66, which, why would anyone go back to Chicago in the winter? But that's what I do.
Why would anyone write poems?
Yeah. So, I'll do this and that. There we go. So yeah, so glad everyone came out here. It's nice to see everybody. Since this is a poetry thing, I'm gonna start with a poem. Mix it up here. This is called Sugar Skull. I wrote this in spring of 2020, about February. Dark avenues like red tunnels telescope back into her inner eye. Streetlights bend in the steam of frying bat meat. Motel shadows full of eyes suspend hidden deals and cultural force fields. Bugs pour from the cracks in the mirror that line her face with age. She was sure she could lead the homeless army over the wall of the Hollywood Forever Cemetery and dig up the pharaoh and use his skull like a radio to free the internet slaves. It was snowing dope in the desert, all fangs numb, with angel feathers. She sneezed and blew her cover, so the cameras descended on her and x-rayed her soul until she believed she never had one. She thought if she could reincarnate into her enemy and then commit suicide, she could loop time back to before the world was poisoned like a well. Smoking looms of memories flashed like lightning in the fog and burned her silhouette across the back wall of the Circle K. After her paranoid poems were rejected for channeling the dead, she intoned them like stand-up comedy to her doctors, who decided to laugh rather than stroke their beards, and declared her cured and shaved their goats and bottled her tears and sold self-help books based on the social media version of herself with a close-up of her carbon footprint on the book jacket. Pungent flowers will grow from the decay of her good intentions, blocked orgasms, confabulated glory days, menstrual sunsets, lying pen pals, parent expectations, self-inflicted lobotomies, fever halos, conspiracies with the moon, apocalyptic codes, bonfires with the damned, the eulogy she wrote herself, her caramelized brain, garbage islands, melting mushrooms, elephants in the room, dental dams, teddy bears, street corner prophets, endless lists of regurgitated objectivity, and personal madness giggling like musical rubber numbers under the shade of time. Will we ever sleep again? Will we dream in a new language? Will we ever be able to change the world but preserve our precious melancholy mythology? Or can peace only arrive through desolation? Can we, through trial and error, checks and balances, be crowned with utopia, teetering on the peak of this round of recorded history, torn by time, skinless, stretched on the rack of the sun, wheeling in slow motion, teeth shattered and TV static. Shh, it, or God whispers. So, I'll read out of Busking Blues, which is a new one. It's not my first novel. It's the first one that got published, and I'm pretty proud of it. And it starts like this. I have questions no man can answer, and God won't bother. In the still morning, I'm walking down the alley behind 18th Street in Pilsen, the Mexican neighborhood on the near south side. In Chicago, dawn is the only time there are patches of silence. Third shift hasn't gotten home yet, and first shift is just waking up. The only sounds are my footsteps, and the freight yard clanking in the distance. Now even the rats are asleep. The occasional breeze stirs a newspaper and wafts the stench of the tired old trash cans. The sky has that cool blue tint streaming up from Lake Michigan out east somewhere. Soon, the music of the street will be humming with activity. The sun will thaw people from their sleep. There will be brushes on teeth, spoons ringing in bowls, arms in coats. The white noise of traffic will rise like the tide. Laughing school children, delivery trucks, commuters, crossing guards will click into position. Only later do the hustlers come out, the perpetual street corner spirits, miscellaneous sentries, sometimes menacing figures, wandering the pavement at a slower pace, looking like they have nowhere to go because they are already at their destination, somewhere between a borrowed bed and the curb. Today, I am joining them. I have just walked out on my girl. I tell myself, this is the last time. This time I'm leaving for good. We've been together for 3 years, but that's another story. Right now, I'm homeless. I need a plan. As I walk down 18th Street, common sense clicks in my head like a reflex. I should scramble looking for a better gig. I should stop spending all my time playing guitar and writing songs. I should be concerned about getting my life together. I should be worried about getting a ceiling over my head. I should be worried about getting my clothes clean. I should be scared. But the truth is, I don't give a damn. I'm not afraid at all. My feet are light, my pace picks up, I skip between the cracks in the sidewalk. The melody I'm humming is stronger than all these thoughts. The day is getting brighter. A weight has been lifted. The air feels cool in my lungs. Today, anything could happen. As long as I have this guitar, I'm not homeless. I'm a street musician. This is what it looks like. Ooh, it's pretty. And this is actually my street performer's license. Let's see if I can play guitar here. Walked up to the station, suitcase in my hand. Said I walked up to the station, suitcase in my hand. It's hard to tell when all your love's in vain. All my love's in vain. All my love's in vain. All my love is in vain. We spent nights burning the four walls with words. We drank cheap wine on the beach. We watched too much TV. We never bought toilet paper, always stole it from jobs and restaurants. We shopped. I worked long hours. After work, I did all the housework. Then I drank away my aching muscles. She overdosed, cried, screamed, loved me, hated me. We ate mushrooms trying to sew the holes in our souls. We were holy children giggling. We were hicks with mouths full of garbage. We had our own kitty cat language. We had pet names and insults. We tried hole-in-the-wall restaurants that were all the same. We met each other's parents. We kicked each other's baggage. We double dated with our demons. We made love like cannibals. Well, the train pulled into the station, looked up in the eye. The train pulled into the station, looked up in the eye. Here come now. Felt so lonesome, all so lonesome. I could not help but cry. All my love's in vain. All my love's in vain. All my love is in vain. I lost my car, my job, my lady, my home, then my mind. I'm sorry, but I can't care anymore. I'm sorry, but I can't feel sorry anymore. I walked away. I had nowhere to go, but I walked away. There's a point when things get so bad, you're in survival mode. Fight or flight. There's only one thing you can do, so you see it and you do it. Everything focuses to a point of clarity. There's no balancing the consequences because there is no choice. As easy as fate, it was over. She lives in my bones and attacks me in my sleep. As I keep walking away from her, I hope that she finally finds happiness. I hope more than anything that she makes it. I hope her mind will cease to storm. I hope she won't hurt herself again. I hope she won't treat other boys like she treated me. I hope somebody will succeed at making her feel loved where I failed. In dreams, I wish she was still lying beside me. But when I wake up, I hope I never see her again. All my love is in vain. Hey. So, Busking Blues takes place during the recession. But life goes in circles sometimes. Let me see what else we want to do. I think I'm still shaking from the car ride and can't really control my fingers too much. Let me see. You guys gonna read some stuff soon? That'd be a relief. Let me see here. Let me do. So I've been called. I used to go by blues poet. I'm like, what's that? Like, it's like regular poetry, but even more depressing. So, but I like mixing forms. I do a lot of prose poems and poetic prose, jump things together and lyrics and put them together. Let's do this one. So this is also from Busking Blues. High above my head, the buildings cut the sky into baby blue paper dolls. Below I sing. I'm sitting in the financial district at Wacker and Madison. My guitar squeaks and hums under a glass slide as I contemplate tall, creasy crystals full of windows and eyes. As soon as the market closes, stockbrokers of the Board of Trade will pass me on the way to Union Station. I figured I would go where the money is. Slick soldiers in slender suits slide forward. Off they go, hopping metro trains to safe suburbs, yards like golf courses, a land of man-made lakes. 5 o'clock and the gates open. Business people flood the cement river. The crosswalk signal feeds them past me in waves. Green light goes the blues, red light the sigh of my empty hat on the sidewalk. Passing by are iPod zombies. No one can hear me. Milton bike messengers pause in intersections like spinning trapeze artists. Cabbies jerk, jump, bob, and weave like boxers. Traffic cops conduct a crowd in a silent symphony. Then engines, horns, the screech of metal on metal. Now an ambulance screams like a burning angel bending the air. After an hour with no one stopping for a song, my guitar seems to be strung with barbed wire. Between the notes are rusty gates, scarecrows laughing, beams of moonlight on soft hayfields. This music grounds me. In the moment, it takes me somewhere far away. Today, I heard a security guard company was hiring. I lined up with a few dozen other desperate men in a carpeted lobby of a hotel near Navy Pier. After filling out the application and snagging some free coffee, I was called into the back room. An old man with a flat top proceeded to explain the merits of the polygraph machine to me, despite it being deemed inadmissible in a court of law. Next thing I know, I've agreed to get wired up to the box for the last portion of the interview. The rationale being that security guards must be 100% trustworthy. They will be guarding expensive property and valuable products. So I got plugged in, I got grilled, my heartbeat drew pretty waves across the monitor. It was pretty easy until they started asking about drug history. Ever tried marijuana? No. Ever tried LSD? No. Ever tried cocaine? No. Ecstasy, amphetamine, opium? No. 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 These were all lies. The truth was yes. I didn't get that job. Whew. How are you guys doing?
Good.
That's good to hear. I just can't play guitar right now. Police lights strobe across the brick buildings by the gas station like some kind of sick nightclub. The flashing blues and reds illuminate and blind in alternating waves. As I pass the lights, they x-ray my skull. A young man's body is lying on the road, limp, lifeless. The officers unravel yellow crime scene tape as casually as unspooling measuring tape. It's the third time I've seen a dead body. The first time it's disturbing, the second time concerning. The third time the most disturbing thing is that I'm not disturbed by it anymore. The fact that I'm used to it is the sick thing. I don't want to become numb. I don't want to become hard. I don't want to seem uncaring. The fact is that a person can get used to almost anything. As babies, we start life crying, and life wraps our brains in scar tissue. Most leave this world wide-eyed, aware, staring through space, or mercifully, peacefully, in sleep. Not the case for this poor soul. He probably never saw it coming. He's young enough to have felt invincible. He's young enough to have watched his life flash by before his eyes twice before the light slithered away. Pete Townsend! No. That song that I played earlier is a variation on Robert Johnson. Any questions? Chair back here. All right. I want to do another poem here. I wrote this in the desert. It's called Underwater Moon. Inky waves weave moonlight and silver root smoke. Kinetic calligraphy, ribbon dances, and jokes with no meaning. Electric lassos choke time into a tapestry of cherubs and test tubes, tide pools and tear ducts. Wisps of light and cold whispers of eternity and sparks, pictographs of dust, a zoetrope of train windows flicker by like burning film. Blue halos burst out the spinal column like an echo taking light years, reflecting back to the source of creation to confirm that all is alive. Heartbeat like sonar to define the void. A moot point rectified to ecstatic revelation, like a chant echoing down the halls of history. Underwater moon wanes like a pendulum, a pupil rolling across the jelly meniscus above, this silent desert made of the snow of eroded cities, where I write my name in the sand and realize it does not mean a thing, long before it blows away. And that is the greatest gift of all. When in doubt, tell the truth. I'm exhausted. Yeah. Let me read. You got one more in me? Why not? This one's called My Dog. Sometimes when my wife is out of town, I sit at home and look at the other side of the couch, at her dog, who is now my dog, and I think, how did I end up with this fluffy little creature? The little dog lets me know when she needs food. She pulls me around the neighborhood. I pick up her droppings like a stooge. And then she barks at the other dogs. but makes friends with the humans. I do the opposite. I like to make friends with the dogs. Before I met my wife, I was so drunk all the time I couldn't keep a pet. In AA, they advise that before you try a relationship with a person, try a pet. Or in bad cases, try a houseplant and see if you water it. I did one better. I bought a plastic plant that didn't need water. It had little solar panels and it would dance in the window when the sun hit it. I got drunk, fell down, and I broke the fucking thing. Then my wife picked me up. She taught me how to love again. She had this little dog, and we treated it like a baby. I never had a dog, even growing up as a boy in Wisconsin. I never loved an animal so much. Soon I began to love myself again. Before she rescued me, my wife rescued the little dog from the pound. That dog used to roam the streets in a gang. It ate garbage. It had other owners but ran away. It shivered in thunderstorms and fought other dogs. So now she doesn't trust her own kind and barks at the other dogs. The dog and I are friends. The dog and I are the same. We're both mutts, bums. We both love my wife. We both make good pets, as long as we're fed. Oh, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, I got Busking Blues, my Cabby's book. There was only like 5 left. That was like a limited run thing, which was a pretty good experience. My poetry book's called The Trail of Quetzalcoatl that John alluded to. And I also have some records of me with my old band, if anyone's interested. But I'm excited to hear what you guys had to say, and I'm really glad everyone came out.
Well, I think the passages from your novel sounded like prose poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Double dating with our demons. That was excellent line.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So, you want to host the open mic?
Yeah.
That's
cool.
Thank you.
I wanted to make one announcement, which is November 5th, 6 o'clock, which is a Saturday. Brenda will be here, and it will be her reading for her book, which I wish we could have done earlier, exactly when your book came out.
It probably was okay because at that particular point started 2.5 months of total disruption in my life. A tornado, moving my office after 22 years, my niece rolling her car 4 times, lots of different things. So it may not have been the best time anyway.
But you,
And then I got COVID.
well, and then now
Yeah.
now you have plenty of things for your next book.
That's
All
true.
of those things. So, yeah.
But
So
thank you. Yeah.
yeah. So if everyone can be here, November 5th, 6 p.m. So far, that is the last reading that I have scheduled for the season here. That may change because I'd love to be able to squeeze in one more featured reading in November before it gets cold, like fingers crossed. So I just want to let everyone know about that. And so I am just going to let everyone take a break, talk to Wesley, go out there and talk to him. His books are there, so I will make him migrate out there. But thank you everyone for being here. We're going to come back up. I say 10 minutes. It'll probably be 15. But I have the open mic list. If you are not presently on it, but you would like to be on it, I will leave it right here on this chair with a pen,
Okay.
and you can sign up, and I will see everyone again in a few minutes.
Yeah, I think I met.
Yeah.
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 Congratulations on your book.
trickle back in. So, in honor of the fact that we're going to have her here reading from her book on November 5th, I think the first person I'm going to call up is Brenda, because I'm just so glad to see you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm glad to finally be back after all those fiascos one after the other. So this is my book, and I'll be, launching this on November 5th, called The Unexpected Life. I'm just going to read one from that tonight. It's called Hijinks. Liberated minutes and unconfined lies line hours of spoken conversation in a back and forth hijinks, cascading into wild labels, opening discourse between revealers of truth for not giving into fables that confuse and refuse to lower frustration, feeding into the gaps and not refuting the tags and tickets lost to jazz and sweet tea. Composition inside the balconies of minds, tearing notes to break free, and letting the mystic beats and notes rise beyond occasions and beyond time. So during that 2.5 months when all the tragedies were happening, I didn't write anything, and then I challenged myself to write 25 poems in 3 days, but I wrote 27. So these that I'm going to read are from that group. This is called A Small Crevice. Darkness is not an inspiration. It's caught under the heavy layer of an uncertain mistake. Always decisions that can wait until some light seeps into the small crevice between doubt and certainty. A small window you don't want to open, but you don't want to close. And this is called Lime Texture. Soft directions carry most to places among oranges and green escapes. Louder than noises and bright flashes, traveling toward a vacant past, moving and moving and moving. In layers of frost and field, peeling away citrus spray and lime texture, emerging into a place of floating space. And this is called Newer Destinations. Purpose holds no future or guarantees, as planning continues in a vacuum. While the sweet tea pours and the almond dust settles in the stillness of the dawn, little known are the restless facts that become useless. While the brilliant sun fades into carefully manicured lawns and lives are sorted and packed into a cardboard semblance, taped shut and shipped onto newer destinations. And the last one, it's called Persimmons. Sunshine and ice and glass, the soil resounds in laughter, pulsing toward a branchless defeat as persimmons ripen in the glow. And temperance funnels into the past. It's just amazing, these conversations that take their toll on numbers, as the glow just cascades on and on. As few days surpass this blue, this never-ending flow of gold and brown below.
I have to say, Brenda, I think we do better a lot of times when the weather is terrible. So, like, when we have your reading, I'm praying for a blizzard, but, maybe we'll pack the place. Okay.
I'll be cozy.
These bifocals. All right. So, with that, the next person I want to call up narrowly escaped a motorcycle gang today, and that is my friend Kendrick.
Was Peter Fonda one of them?
No, I think it was a congenial motorcycle gang.
It was the ghost of Peter Fonda.
Although they were there for funerals, so who knows. Okay, John and Mark may have, I think I read this at Gumbo Bottoms, but I've been working on it, so I've made some changes to it. So.
It's okay, read.
Okay,
Always read.
power. to the people doesn't mean a thing anymore. Sure, they'll tell you, everyone deserves the best. Everyone deserves a chance. Everyone deserves to be treated fairly. But they draw a line. And when that line reaches their pocketbook, you watch them flip. I'm not talking a coin toss. There's no 50-50 about this. Give them the chance, they'll flip. I want this. I want that. I want the latest toy. They want what they want as soon as they want it, and as many times as they want it. Usually at the expense of someone else, never thinking theirs could be the jobs moved overseas. They want it for less, but is it really cheaper? When corporations shop for cheap labor, find it in China, and shut down operations here? Who needs good paying jobs? Maybe even union jobs. People don't want others to have what they don't have. Whether it's the latest toy, job protection, fair treatment, or decent wages. All they have to hear is union, and what they hear is high prices. This didn't just happen overnight. It's been going on for a long time. Unions meant job protection, but that went out the window when purchasing power transferred power to the corporations. And people think they got what they wanted. So when you say you want more power, remember, you already gave it away. Thank you. Thank you. When I go hiking at Painted Rock Conservation Area, you go in about a half a mile, then there's about a mile of trail that follows along the bluffs, in and out, come back out to overlook the Osage River, and then back to the trailhead. And there's some spots where, almost like goat trails, but obviously people have made them, where you go off the trail, you go down a little bit, almost off the edge of the cliff, and it goes along, and you're underneath these overhangs, limestone overhangs. And I picture someone from the Osage tribe who no longer lives in Missouri because they don't exist here anymore, looking out on that. So I wrote this short poem called Osage Lookout. High above a river that bears the name of your people, long absent, beside mounds and petroglyphs on a barely visible trail worn by truly silent feet, you sit beneath a rock ledge, surveying a land to which you once belonged, present in spirit only. Thank you. So, that poem in mind, I decided to approach it from a slightly different direction. So, this was called The Final Cost. A river course that bears the name of those who once lived here bears likeness none to anyone of those who once lived here. For tribes long gone will not appear. Their time here was undone. So, double-crossed, the Osage lost. Their time here was undone. To take their land, a tale was spun. Their home, the final cost. The white man's claim, a nation's shame. Their home, the final cost. This stream they once looked across will never be the same. The land held dear in yesteryear will never be the same. That's it. Thank you. I'm actually averse to rhyming verse.
You shouldn't be, because actually that was quite good.
Yeah, we had that discussion.
Yes.
Okay, for my last one. This was a hybrid. It was actually published by Amethyst Review, but I decided to see if I could make verse out of it. So I did some major editing to it. The Beat of Wings. It's 83 at mid-morning and heading higher as I stand at the water's edge. Warmer still in my vest. I slide into my kayak. I feel the slightest breeze as I leave machinery and concrete in my wake. It's a different world on the water. There's nothing special about this river, just a narrow band of water lined with trees, an occasional small bluff turning it here, there. With slow, easy strokes, I paddle upstream and take the offered shade along the bank as a gift as I watch a heron take flight on sighting me. With my paddle as wings, I follow my guide around a bend. The sun is now at my back, with no advantage from the trees on the bank shading each other, but not the water I cross. Startled by my appearance, the heron again takes flight. It turns before me and heads upriver, its wings offering the breeze that cools me. And what is that breeze, if not a way to carry my And what is that breeze, if not a way to carry my troubles to another place? A tonic, given freely with the beat of wings. Thank you.
All right. Since he is closer than he typically is, and I don't have to shout quite as much, even though I love it, I'm going to bring up Jason Reberg right now. Don't you try to run off.
I love it when you shout, John. Makes me feel like you really care.
Oh, at least one night a month.
I had one night a month. I'm gonna try from right here because I was looking back there. The angle's really cool here. How's this, Tony?
You gotta be like right here, man.
All right, we're gonna edit 3, 2, 1. Sitting in the rain, tit deep in the Gasconade River, passing a pine bottle of Evan Williams back and forth. Thank you, that was it. The river has been stirred up a bit by this low-level end of summer shower and keeps attempting to sweep us and our bottle away downstream to wash up who knows where. But our butts are too firmly planted in the rocks here, our conversation too deeply delved into for us to surrender so easily now. Leaves and sticks float by. A lone blue heron wings and scronks its way across the river and over the trees on the other side. Dragonflies dance their crazy electric calligraphy along the water's surface. Tiny stones rat-a-tat and clickety-click their Morse code ticker tape network on the muddy bottom. The bottle goes back and forth. Rain continues to fall. This is called the sweet by and by, or curried beef and eggs for breakfast. It's for Tony Hayden. The only answer really to a morning after a night of too much curried beef and bourbon is, of course, more bourbon. And maybe some brown sugar if you have it, mixed into a mug of hot, tar black coffee. An old tattered bathrobe, an even older folding chair, a pair of cheap sunglasses. Seriously, never pay more than $10 because sure as shit you'll lose them or sit on them or something equally catastrophic. A book of 800 years of ancient Chinese poetry. A coolish, moody wind in the spindly spiderweb trees, strung here and there with invisible chimes, it seems. A smelly mutt named Murph, or Zeus, or Lucky, to bring you a stick to throw from time to time. Leftover curried beef and eggs over easy, warming on the stove. A muddy river sliding lazily by, and there in the distance, a rustic country Charon, ferrying some recently departed soul on over to the other side. A Day on the Farm, Part 2. A grackle perched on a fence post beneath an electric blue sky where mountains and fat land masses of cloud do their continental drift thing. Tiny sets of wings, blue, yellow, orange, like the petals of wildflowers, flutter up from the grass. The wind and the trees are twisting like they did last summer, and who knows how many summers before. A sparrow is sitting on the driver's side mirror of a beat-to-shit pickup truck in the middle of a clump of grass and weeds grown conspicuously tall on a small square of the property where all else is kept fairly low to the ground. Keys still in the ignition. Battery still good. Radio works. Motherfucking Chuck Berry.
Okay. So with that, the next person I'm going to call up, I think I've heard before, and I had the pleasure of talking to him earlier today before we got started, and it's Mark.
I don't think you've ever heard me, actually. No.
No, you didn't read that first.
I
No.
don't.
The time that he was there.
Yeah, I don't
You-
think
you
I
didn't-
did.
I don't
neither
think
of
it's
us
when
read.
I was there. So.
Yeah.
No.
So, no. If you were at Gumbo Bottoms earlier this month, you might remember me reading We Six, a poem about being a pallbearer for my grandfather. This is another six. And now, 13 years later, we return to this hill. Two who were here before, one who feared he could not shoulder the load back then, one who was willing but not called, and two too young then. But now, answering the call, we six stand in this place where so many we have known and so many we have loved now rest, and we prepare to take one final trip with him. Charlie says, "This in first, and then up a sharp right to the tent." We take a deep breath and begin our short trek. A brief falter and a reminder. We can do this. He carried us enough. And then we six place Dad on his grave. I'm not going to read that one because then I'll cry. You may not want to listen to this one. No, you do, no. It's not sad.
Okay.
It's entitled Loving You.
You're right.
It's about her mother. I run my fingers across your petal soft back and I trace I love you up the trail of your spine. I pray a little prayer, a silent recognition to God for you, your love and the love that I have to give. They are all gifts he has given me, or really us, to cherish and hold near when all else seems to go wrong. I get up and write some lines that can never be enough to tell you how I feel on this quiet night. You sigh, still asleep, and without knowing it, call me back to your side, to our bed, to your waiting love. Periodically, cynicism creeps in. I know, it's in my nature, right, John? This one's entitled The Story Ended. Camelot is dead and Arthur destroyed. Guinevere and the noble knights faded, giving way to the heathens within. Someone dehorned the unicorns and clipped the wings of Pegasus, leaving only the simple horses behind. My nickname was Mary Sunshine. No. I was talking earlier that I used to challenge kids that you can write a poem on any topic. And when I taught English, and so I would let them give me the topic, and then I would write the poem on the board. Yeah, it was fun. This one is entitled Dead Dog on the Road, because that's what they said. The kid raised his hand and goes, "Dead dog on the road!" And I said, okay. It's a very short one. A mass of tattered fur, he lay still on the yellow line. Dorothy's little friend was back in Oz. I'll read one more. This one's entitled September 11th, 2001. It needs no explanation. We stood in disbelief and stared at the images flashing before our eyes. These were things that could never happen here, but Peter Jennings was bringing them to us live. We stood in disbelief as America was ushered in to the age of terrorism.
I'll tell you, man, dead dog on the road.
I also have one entitled Yeast Infection.
Do you have that on you right now?
No, I don't.
Oh, all right. Next time.
I will bring it next time.
Next time. All right.
Did they know who Dorothy was?
Yes.
These kids?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
they did. This was 30 years ago.
Oh,
20-some years ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When we still had an education system.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Don't get started.
But all right. We've got 2 more people on the list, and I'm just gonna call up John Clayton.
John, I have to have my stool, so.
All right. Oh, all right.
You can see Toto's grave in Los Angeles.
Can you really?
There's a little statue of it.
That's funny.
The old people, it takes us a while to get ready. Have to get our glasses and a place to sit.
It's worth it, John.
You know, this is the political season, and I always have issues with people sometimes during the political season because I don't have much of a filter. And so, the first poem I want to read is kind of about that. It's called Sorry, My Mistake. Sorry, my mistake. I misunderstood. I thought we were speaking truth for honesty's sake. I hate it when I've misunderstood. When I'm expected to talk and smile, but only tell the truth once in a while. You know, just leave things out that need to be said, so everyone but me is happy when they go to bed. I hear you brag about how very brave you are. I'm sure that in your mind, you're surely a star. Definitely one, a hero, or maybe even 2. I don't see you that way, even if you do. When you don't say what needs to be said, and don't want anyone to pick that sore, it'll just fester and get red. Lynch that boil and wipe away the gore. Hate me if you want, it's up to you. But if you ask me a question, expect me to be true. I don't feel the need to hear myself talk. But if I speak and you're offended, just take a walk. This one is for Tony Hayden. Tony's a gardener, and I'm a gardener, and we don't always agree on things. You wouldn't think that there'd get much disagreement about gardening, but sometimes we do.
Gardening scuffle.
Pardon?
Gardening scuffle.
This one's called Slicing Tomatoes. I have old style but discriminating taste. I'm sure you have heard that organic, homegrown is best. When it comes to slicing tomatoes, it is only these that will pass the test. I think about them all winter long. I make my plans, I sing a song. I look out the window wishing for the snow to be gone. I eagerly collect the mail looking for seed order forms that I will buy from to excess without fail. I go to Walmart, straight to the clearance rack, and looking for peat pots, pellets, and I buy lots. I'm thinking of slicing tomatoes. I clean off the table neath the window with sun. I want to be ready, so I work and work until I'm done. Then I watch the calendar for just the right day. So I know it will be fine. That's right, Tony. I planted a sign. I place the seeds on white copy paper and spread them out. I grasp those little suckers with tweezers and stuff them in a wet peat pellet. I cover them to keep out the light. For 7 long days I wait. I hope to see signs of life when I expose them to the sun's rays. I turn them in the sun each day so the stems will grow straight. With the water can, I'm never late. I nurture them, coddle them, and love them along. I watch the calendar. I wait for the sign, and then I get dirty planting it after the danger of frost is gone. Each day I tend them with love and care and grace. I watch for bugs, aphids, blight, and tobacco mosaic. I see the first blossoms, I see the first fruit. I watch them grow, it's so hard to wait. I see them changing color, not exactly red, they're Cherokee purple. I have to control myself. That toast and tomato sandwich will just have to wait. Okay, I will make a date, 4 days from now. Will be harvest time. When that day arrives, I grab my bucket and I make a beeline right to the cage where I know I will find a big old tomato ripe on the vine. Where's it at? I know it was here. Oh no, something has happened up here. I look and look and look around. Well, shit. There it is, right on the ground. 3/4 eaten. What a terrible mess. What happened to it? I have a good guess. Groundhog, marmot, woodchuck, rodent. I don't care what you call him. PETA, just please come and take this son of a bitch away. I do not like him. I do not like him, I say. He has eaten every single slicing tomato I have grown to this day, and he is not welcome here. He cannot stay. He must be gone. He must go away.
See, the real debate, John.
Pardon?
What are your feelings on letting meat rest? Because that's what I want to know.
Don't get me started, John.
I recently went to Evansville, Indiana to read, and it was great. The only problem I had was where I stayed was with another poet, and he had this dog. Now, I am not usually afraid of dogs. Spiders is my fear.
Okay.
I hate spiders. I mean, and I have a good sense about fear. Some people just do. You know, when I was in Vietnam, they put out mines all the time in the road, and the dirt were all dirt. And you know, you go out there and look at it, and some guys couldn't tell. I just knew. I just knew if it was there. You know, the dirt could be perfectly smooth. There was nothing there. But when I look at it, if there are no bird tracks, if there are no rat tracks, I ain't going on that road. That's the way I was with this dog. And this dog inspired this. I was nervous and I didn't get good sleep. This piece is called Dangerous Females. My daughter told me I might get in trouble for this one. She's a beauty. Pink skin, blue eyes. Man, does she ever make me nervous. My sense of survival tells me that she would be just fine with me bleeding out as she casually ate my voice box. Yep, just about any space is too small for me and that pit bull to enjoy at the same time. Mr. Praying Mantis loses his life to perpetuate his kind. No time to savor the conquest. Ms. Mantis bites his head off and eats it following copulation. Apparently that meets some need she has. Gives new meaning to losing your head in a relationship. Scientists claim it only happens 15% of the time. When weighing the benefit versus the risk, it doesn't seem like a bargain to me. Celebrity looks pretty attractive in the praying mantis world, as I see. It's just nature, they say. Maybe so, but what a price to pay for love and companionship. There are other examples for us to see. Take that lightning bug, for instance. On those warm summer nights, they're so beautiful in the evening absence of light. They're harmless and neither sting nor bite. Little kids collect them in jars to light up the room when Mom says, turn out that light. This, my friend, is the human point of view. If you're a lightning bug suitor, the situation is not so nice for you. In the lightning bug world, those lovely females are totally treacherous. They flit around, flashing their ass, using their signal to lure their heroes out of the tall grass. When she has him firmly in her grasp, she has him for dinner in a culinary sense. I know that dogs and bugs are not people, but I think I see some similarities. Maybe they're only similar in their struggle for power. Halloween is coming. There's witches, they say. Be careful, my friends. Sometimes the price is too much to pay. Michael, you want to read?
No, maybe next time.
All right.
Well, and this final gentleman I'm going to call up tonight, and I use that term loosely, is soon to have a new book of poems out on Spartan Press, which I'm going to put the pressure on you, and you need to tell us when that book is due out. But I will welcome up Steve Bridgens, who's going to read us some poems, and he's going to tell us about his book. Steve!
Just one, John. It's past my bedtime.
There you go. Well, I wanted you to be able to luxuriate, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You were like,
Anyway, yeah, I do have a new book coming out with the help of everyone here, the OAC people and my editor-in-chef, Mr. Reberg, which I greatly appreciate. It's going to be the Hobo Bob cantos. I wrote one poem for a friend of mine who had passed away. I started channeling this character, Hobo Bob, and I assumed that he may have been me, but maybe not, I don't know. Anyway, here's one of them. And I appreciate everyone tonight using some sort of classical reference, you know, ancient Greek, which I really appreciate. So I got this for another buddy that died. And this one's called Hobo Bob, Rowing to Cockroach, for Victor Campbell. So that's it. Pan, that is. He's dead. Or so some sailor yelled over to us as our trireme passed his, somewhere on the moon-speckled Aegean. We were sailing between one little no-name island and another, trying to get home. The weather was great as usual, clear and clearer. Every star out, watching us row. What a day for another death, and a big one to boot. The end of an era and the beginning of another simultaneously. Funny how that works. The demarcations of history are not usually so apparent until long after. But for now, it's sackcloth and ashes. A Jeroboam of champagne poured into the sea. But Pan, he was the father of us all, except for Zeus, of course. He was not paternal, another holy drunk egging us on to greater and greater excess in the search for our proverbial true selves. But we really didn't need to know. Now Pan's gone, and no doubt we will be herded into this new gray era that doesn't look like it will be all that much fun. It would have been better if the sailor had kept his mouth shut and his hands on the rudder. Maybe he heard the siren song in the distance and suddenly changed course right onto their rocks. We would have learned of Pan's death in Patros, most likely. They know everything in Patros. The golden age would have lasted a bit longer for us ship-bound sailors heading home. We could have found out later and been sad then. Thank you. Thank you all. I'll sign that book if you want.
All right.
That would be wonderful, thank you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Solid.
All right. Thank you again, Steve. I really like that poem.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No, with that, I'd just like to thank everybody for being here. Again, please, November 5th, 6 p.m., please come out. I will hopefully know before then if we're going to do another November event, and I will let everyone know. I post all of these Barb's books. I refer to the series as Barb's Books Presents, and I create an event page for every one of them on Facebook. So if you're ever curious, you could do just a search at the top of the page and they'll pop up. And I did this before, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to leave this notebook out. If anybody wants to leave me their email, I will update you via email on any future events. You just leave it in here, and then whenever they pop up, I'll shoot you an email. So with that, I'd just like to thank everybody for being here. It has been awesome. Magically, I've stayed awake because I'm not hopped up on like antibiotics, and it's been super nice and actually was fun to read, which it isn't for me all the time. And just thank you guys so much. And I try to remember every time. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Tony, for letting us do this. It is much appreciated.
And thank you, John. Thank you for putting this together, John, and thank you for emceeing. We appreciate it.
I enjoy doing it.
That's why you got the job.
Yeah, there it is. All right. We'll hang out for a while, talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to go to the bathroom. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And please leave me your email if you want to.